Knuckles Comic Issue 26. We start out with the Chaotix finally talking about how Charmy's gone, missing him, and after one of them discusses that he could have renounced his family heritage to stay with them, Espio reveals that the kid's now betrothed, and for once Vector and I are in perfect agreement with each other. A kid betrothed? I guess this kingdom works kind of like the Acorn Kingdoms, where the royalty gets engaged at 11. Apparently, Espio received a letter about Charmy's engagement to a girl named Saffron. Why did only he receive it? I guess Charmy thought he only needed to tell one friend, and he'd tell them all. Also, it makes sense that Vector would be the type of guy to care about babes and not marriage. He seems like the type. And when's he gonna get his muscular modern design already? Sonic got it. Eggman got it. They didn't become muscular. After the Chaotix have a friendly joking around about how only Julie Sue could handle Vector, Julie angrily shoots a picture of Knuckles with fire like a spurned ex-girlfriend, saying, "Run out on me, William! Big mistake!" I appreciate that passion. This is the Julie Sue I liked so much at the start. She then sits down exhausted, all that anger is spent, as she says, "What's the matter with you? Don't you care about us? About anything?" And then she shows actual self-awareness, being embarrassed of her behavior. I need a life. The problem is, where do you get one, when all you think about is him? I hate you, Knuckles, for not being here to talk with me right now. I don't know about you, but I love this. I'm way more invested in this than I thought I'd be before I met her, all because she's such a good character. So Knuckles then goes into a house to Locke's surprise, and he gives his son some breakfast, just like normal father and son. And after he asks his father why boys and girls get together, a very childish question that makes sense as he hasn't had parents since he was a little kid, his father hilariously spits out his drink, and even more hilariously looks awkward while saying, why do you want to know? That's worth a chuckle. He's so much like his son when he gets flustered. Knuckles, having a genuine feeling father-son moment with him, says that he feels weird when around Julie Sue, saying that he's happy and mad at the same time, and when he thinks that she's angry, she wants to be friends. And he's saying this while still in the process of eating pancakes, so it's all perfectly casual and comfortable to talk about him like that. Locke then asks him how it's different when he's with other friends, and Knuckles says that they get along great, although Vector can be a pain at times. And after he says he doesn't even think about other girls, Locke says rather logically that he must have been affected by the soul touch, and judging from Knuckles' shocked reaction, he might know in the back of his mind what that actually is, and not really want to believe it. Locke says that echidnas tend to develop their intellectual side more, so it's nature's way of balancing the scales. Does he mean that echidnas inherently seek out partners smarter than them? But there's so many different echidnas at once that could qualify as smarter than them. How could they have only one soulmate? I don't really hate the concept of the soul touch. I mean, I didn't mind the revelation that Sabrina and Harvey were soulmates at the end of the TV series. But I think that's because it was revealed at the very last episode, when there was a whole show building up to making us root for them being together, and giving us all sorts of hints that they belong together. I think they should have introduced Knuckles and Julie being soulmates way later on, because when they haven't even started dating it feels a little forced, strangled by the red string. Like, Knuckles doesn't really have a choice. Locke, I don't think you should have told him the truth so early. It's called letting things develop naturally. But at the very least, the relationship isn't nearly as forced as I was worried it was going to be before I met Julie, because unlike with Sally and Sonic, their personalities are actually similar to each other. And they have a fun dynamic with each other where Julie's a tsundere sometimes and playfully teases him other times. For some reason, after Locke talks about the soul touch, Knuckles doesn't freak out aside from that one panel, and seems to, if anything, go into denial like nothing's ever mentioned. Does he not know what soul touch means? Does he not understand his explanation? He simply asks why Locke and his mother didn't work out, and is told that even the best of relationships need a lot of work. Well, hold on here, Knuckles had a really good point. If they weren't meant to be together, since Lara's having a much happier, healthier relationship with another man, but they had the soul touch for each other, doesn't that kind of poke a hole in the foundation of its legitimacy? That's like the source of all choosing the wrong suitor for Sally all over again. He should have said instead that Lara and Locke obviously weren't really soulmates then. Did they ever do a test or anything to prove it? Knuckles innocently asks if it would be easier if girls stayed with girls and guys hung around with guys, and Locke replies that eventually they would want something more. Well, there's two ways you could take that sentence. And then we just cut away with Locke wanting to discuss more about his feelings with Julie, and Knuckles naturally asking what more there could be since he seems to have said everything. Really? I thought Knuckles would have more of a reaction to Julie being his soulmate than this. What we cut away to was the Chaotix talking about how Vector constantly talks about girls, but since he's literally never done this in the comic, this feels like a compressed fight that only now got made up. And it does make sense though. And I like how natural his friendship with the Chaotix feels here. They dare Vector to actually ask a girl out. I'm confused that he wouldn't ever actually do that until now, because he seems like the type to be very proud and gutsy and just walk up to every girl and do that. He had some high standards though, deciding to pass up on a whole bunch of girls for arbitrary reasons. And then one girl he finally does hit on lies that she's studying to become a missionary. Why the hell is the word missionary in a Sonic comic? It shouldn't be to the point where I'm just resigned to it. We then see Julie having a relatable moment where she complains that she's definitely having a bad hair day, and decides that she has to get out now because I'm starting to sound as shallow as some of the ditses I run into. I like that this part of her character is introduced, like she's that type of snarky, rebellious counterculture girl that really makes her spunky. Like if she was a regular high school student, she'd be a goth. Like now I'm thinking of Sam Munson, or whatever her last name was, from Danny Phantom. She then thought, looking exhausted, that perhaps a self-improvement course would help, and then wonders what she would even want to improve, before wondering if she's just not having enough fun in her life because everything has been a serious matter for as far as she can remember. And at first I thought Knuckles had shown up to suggest that she should try the dress on, but then it turned out it wasn't him because he was too large and wore a green tie. I like her confused response there. She just totally struck him back. I also like this Echidna, because he and the white furred guy are actually being nice to a former Dark Legionnaire. Oh, he thought she wanted to try on the hat. Ooh, she looked great in that. Why didn't she wear a hat earlier? Then he cheerfully asks her if she'd care to join him for lunch. Well, if anything will encourage Knuckles, this will. Archimedes warps to a bored-looking Knuckles, saying that since his father is performing his morning routine, whatever that is, he decided now is a good time to show up. Knuckles says in frustration that on the one hand, he's happy to be with his dad finally, which is good, but on the other hand, he keeps thinking of Julie Sue. And again, he doesn't seem surprised or in denial or anything at being told that he's in love, because I guess he's accepted it by now. That was easy. Knuckles gets teleported to Julie right when she's on a date with someone else. Gee, I wonder if he'll make a scene. By the way, how did Archimedes know that Julie was here? Oh, are you fucking kidding me? From this issue to 28 are backup stories, which I checked, and no issue in the Knuckles comic before it had any of these. So I had to go out of my way to find these stories after I'd already written reviews of their issues. Anyways, Mighty's house on the east side of the island gets approached by someone looking like a silhouetted Fang who gives him a collar belonging to Ray the Flying Squirrel, and tells him that he has no choice but to help him out now. Oh, actually this is Fang's sister, Nicolette. I'm not calling her Nick because that's not a girl's name. She already doesn't look like a girl as it is. I'll be perfectly fine with this if her design wasn't so lazy. It literally looks like Fang trying to dress up like a woman. Why couldn't they just have used Fang? It turns out that she's a bounty hunter, so while Fang's a criminal, she's about hunting criminals. I guess they really didn't like each other as kids then. The two of them go on an aircraft bought at the Fire and Gemstone, and Mighty then remembers how Ray, 7 years ago, was caught with him and taken to a slave labor camp, where they met for the first time. Ray was shivering, but still showed consideration for others. With the art being all black and white, I thought that was Sonic at first, not Ray, and that the woman near him was Rosie. But yeah, why the hell would these guys be taken to a slave labor camp as themselves instead of roboticized? Did Robotnik get bored of always doing the same thing and want to spice it up? I thought his control freak hatred for free will would be so great that he would never want to pass up an opportunity to roboticize someone if given the chance. This whole camp shouldn't have logically existed. Anyways, Ray had offered someone his seat, and then it turns out Sonic is here and all confident. Mighty naturally asks that if he's so special, why hasn't Robotnik taken special precaution with him? And then Sonic says that Robotnik has probably forgotten all about him, because their parents have been carrying the fight until recently. And he figured now was the time for the younger freedom fighters to do their part, including him. Why the hell would Robotnik forget all about a hedgehog who can run at the speed of sound? Ray then realizes that he doesn't recall Sonic being captured with him, and Sonic reveals that he's a secret agent man being sent behind enemy lines. And once they get sent to where they're going, that'll be his cue to scope things out. After he's asked what about everyone here, Sonic says that they'd only cramp his style and leaves. It seems like a dick thing to do, but it makes sense since the rest of them can't run as fast as him, so he'd have to slow down and therefore deprive himself of his methods, as the French translation of the phrase would be. So he'd be better off going alone. And yet he doesn't apply that logic to his friends. He has them slow him down all the time. Muddy thinks about how at first he hated Sonic for some reason, even though he's a nice guy normally. But Sonic did come back to save everyone. But that's when things started getting really bad. Then the airship lands somewhere that I can't really get a good look of. It seems to be an area with dead trees in Yellow Lake. And Fiona shows up, looking furious with him. And knowing what I know about her, I completely get why. Holy shit, she's finally shown up. I've always been fascinated by this character, knowing what I know about her later in the comic. Although I'm sure I'll be underwhelmed and she won't have more than like 2 personality traits later on. But yeah, let's see what she's gonna do for this comic. This story, by Ken Penders, was all about relatable situations. It was about characters being made more relatable, humanizing them with downtime as a breather between all that serious action, with Knuckles getting his first crush, talking to his dad about it, while Julie is the most relatable she's ever been, being like a regular girl. And Vector gets teased about how he talks about girls constantly without ever asking one out, which came completely out of nowhere, despite making sense for his character. And the whole not asking girls out thing felt completely arbitrary because I'd really imagined Vector would be the opposite. That was the only real flaw though, aside from the big problem that Knuckles didn't react to learning that Julie could be his soulmate at all. I was expecting him to be shocked, in denial, taken aback, furiously denying it. But I guess time has passed and he's accepted that he has a crush on her now. Still feels pretty sudden, but their relationship is much more natural than I thought it was going to be. In fact, it's gone to the point where it feels weird them still just being friends. And I never felt that way with Sally and Sonic, who even now still feel like just friends, but slightly closer, like they occasionally, very occasionally, hold hands or hug. And the second story was also by Ken Penders, and basically tells us about Sonic freeing the slave labor camp that logically shouldn't have existed, where Ray and Mighty met each other. I like Ray's personality. He's shy and stuttering, which is cute, and he's compassionate and scared of the situation. But his design is just awful. He looks like he's wearing one of those ball caps or hats that you wear over your hair while you're swimming.